Now, Emlyn, if I may call you Emlyn, Brian. Why does everybody say Brian the whole time? Terrific Brian, terrific Brian.
Well, I think it was an interview that I did, and every time I kept saying something, I kept saying, great Brian, tremendous Brian.
And that's an albatross around your neck now, is it?
Yes.
Why do footballers, Emlyn, call their interviewers by the first name? They always do, don't they?
Yes, Mr. Harty.
Oh, hello. It's going to be that kind of thing.
No, I think you get on well with, 95% of the interviewers are great, and they make it easy for you. They make an interview easy for you.
But it's not their job to make an interview with a footballer difficult, is it?
No, not really. It depends. Sometimes you can get awkward questions, and you have to skirt around them. But
one of the great things that you avoid, the big pitfalls you avoid, is just long lists of matches. When I knew that you were going to come and talk about the programme, I thought to myself, now, good God, supposing it's a long list of, played against so-and-so, you do neatly avoid that.
That's right, yes. What I tried to do, I mean, I've read so many football books by footballers, as you say, that are all about football matches. They played in this game and they won that game, and they nearly won that game and they went here to play in that match. I haven't wrote a football book about that as such. I've wrote a book about three people in the main. I've wrote about my father, who for me was the greatest man that ever lived. Sadly, he's dead now. And I wrote about Shanks, who is a magnificent man, Bill Shankly.
Who's really called Bill Shankly.
Bill Shankly, and it's about myself. And
he was also one of the... Modesty prevents you from saying that, isn't it? But what did Bill Shankly say to you, which is you can put on the last page of the book, when you told him that you were writing it?
Well, again, there's an awful lot in the book about Shanks, and I think the funniest story to come out of it was at the end of my book, when I'd finished writing my book, and I rang Shanks up, and to speak to Shanks on a telephone is an education. He's an amazing man.
Right.
Well, to start off with, unless you've known him for about 12 years, you can't understand him on the phone anyway.
Right.
So goes on the phone and it's, hi, son, how are you, son? So you're chatting away to him. And I said, boss, I always call him boss because he is my boss. I wouldn't dream of calling him anything else. And I said, boss, I've finished writing my book, and after I've sat down and read it myself, I said the book consists of three people. I said it consists of myself, naturally. I said my father and yourself. It's built around them three people. And the phone went dead, and I thought, what's going on? I said, boss. He said, aye, I'm still here, son. I'm still here. I said, well, what do you think? He says, them three people, son, eh? I said, yes. He said, Jesus Christ, son. He said, I think you've wrote a bestseller.
Well, let's see whether he's right or not. Your dad was very, very important to you.
Yes, very much so.
Who was he?
My father was an international rugby player. He was born in Wales, and he managed to get a cap for Wales Rugby Union schoolboys. And then he got the lure of Northern Rugby League, and he went to Barrow, and he was, good enough rugby player to be capped for the Great British Lions.
He was a bit of a gypsy, wasn't he, in some way?
Yeah, he was. It's some very, very funny stories about my father in the book. Some of the story about Blackpool. When I first started off at Blackpool, I was like 16, coming 17, just lucky enough to be getting in the reserve team matches there. And my father used to walk around the paddock at reserve matches, and then the crowd would be maybe 1,500, 2,000 people, and they would only open the main stand and the paddock in front of the main stand. And my father used to walk round. I was playing number 3, which is left back, in the reserves, and my father used to walk in and out of all the paddock people, which were the die-hard regulars, and he used to walk in and out amongst them saying, Jesus, he says, that number 3's a bit useful, isn't he? The lad in the first team was a lad called Tommy Thompson, and he used to walk to the next bunch, and he'd say, hey, that Thompson's struggling in the first team, isn't he? And he used to go out throughout the paddock. I mean, he never used to watch me playing. He just used to move up and down out the...
He gave you some very good advice. You've got good advice, nonetheless. When you went out, was it to Liverpool or with Blackpool or with Liverpool?
No, that was to Liverpool.
Liverpool, that's right. Yeah,
he said, when I was signed by Blackpool, it was funny again, because when Bill Shankly eventually got in touch with me, my father... I had to ring my father. I wouldn't have dreamt of doing anything without my father's advice. I wouldn't have dreamt of signing for Liverpool. So I rang my father up, who was in Barrow, which from Blackpool was then a good 2 hours away by car. And I said, Dad, you've got to get through. Well, Liverpool want me, you know. So he said, don't do anything. Sit in the digs for 2 hours until I get there. So I sat in the digs for ages and ages, and eventually I had to go across to the ground. Met Shanks and spoke with Shanks, and I said if it was all right with Mr. Shankly, I said, I would like to wait for my father to come through. You know, I said, I can't possibly speak terms or, you know, discuss anything with you until my father comes. And he said, good thinking, son. He said, I like thinking about things like that, you know. And I thought, what's going to happen here? You know, I'm a bit wary about this man. You know, he was frightening me to death, Shanks. So anyway, my father came through, and the advice he gave me then was, if you stand up to Bill Shankly and you treat Shanks as he should be treated, as a great man, and don't back down from him, then you'll get on well with him and he'll respect you. And that was the advice he gave me then. Another piece of very, very important advice he gave me was my first game for Liverpool. We played against Stoke City at home, and I marked George Eastham, and I'd done quite well, you know, and I came off after the match, and my father said, you had a good game, son. He said, but you never done anything for people to know you by. You know, you just played your match, you done well, your team won, but nothing happened, you know. Nobody said, oh, he's a good player, or what about him doing this? So our next game was at home against Newcastle United, and they had a player, a fly, honest. He could catch pigeons, this lad. He was so quick. Called Albert Bennett, playing on the right wing. And he said, now look, today, he told me on the Friday on the phone, he said, now look, tomorrow when you're playing, he says, you must do something for the crowd to relate to. So I'm going to bed, you know, and I'm thinking, what can I do, you know? I'm trying to think, well, what can you do?
It's worse than being an author.
I'm trying to think what's going on. Anyway, the game gets started, and this is going on. I'm thinking about this in my mind as the game's going. And the ball was pushed to Albert Bennett, and I was just a little bit too far away from him to get to him. So I thought, if I go quick to you, you might play it back and give me a chance to recover. So I went fairly quick to him, and instead of him playing it back, he played it forward, which he wasn't supposed to do. Right. So he played it forward, and I realised in that split second towards moving to him that I'd lost him, you know. So as he played it forward and ran off, I just dived and jumped on him round the neck. And I sort of like pulled him down, and we're grappling on the floor. And ever since that day, I was called Crazy Horse. That's
what the book's called. We've got a picture of you. To what extent, Emlyn, did Bill Shankly become your father?
Yes, he did actually. I've been very, very, very lucky in so much as I've had great people to listen to throughout my life, or throughout my footballing career anyway. I went to Liverpool, and I got under a great man, under a terrific man, Shanks. Before then, I had my father to carry me all the way through. And as I say, that is what my book is about.
Who have you got now?
I've got my wife, I've got my 2 children, who are everything to me. I mean, they are tremendous, my 2 little children.
How near to the end of your active playing career do you think you are?
A lot of fans say I should have finished 3 years ago.
Well, let them say what they will. What do you think?
I feel I've got another season, definitely. Hopefully another 2 seasons.
You keep having little peaks in your career. You've just been to Buckingham Palace for your lunch.
That's right, yes. I was very, very fortunate to be...
Was it a surprise at this lunch invitation?
It was very, very funny, because I was at a hotel in London, and my wife phoned me, and she said, there's been somebody on the phone from Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, of course.
And I thought that one of the players was having me on.
Yeah.
I thought they were messing around. So it said, Sir Peter Ashworth, he's going to give you a ring later on. So this person then rang me, and it transpired that I was invited to Buckingham Palace to go along and have a meal. You know, I'll have a lunch there.
As you do.
Yes.
Are we letting any cats out of bags, and who cares if we are to say that this book is now inside Buckingham Palace?
Well, it is actually, yes. I presented one to the Queen, and, you know, as...
She gave it back to you?
She did give it back to me, and I thought that she wouldn't be able to accept it, you know, or I would have thought that. But she gave it back, and she said, you haven't signed it.
Terrific.
thought
That
was
is
magnificent.
terrific. Well, there it is in Buckingham Palace and in the shop shortly. It's called Crazy Horse by Emlyn Hughes, published by Arthur Barker at £5.50. Thank you very much, Emlyn Hughes.